But what is most important right now on our calendar, on the radar, is news which says that the Indian High Commissioner has written to the government of Ghana requesting that Ghana rename the Promenade Gardens and the streets around it in honor of Mahatma Gandhi. Well, you would have seen the documentaries in the first hour of this morning's show. And so you can determine who Mahatma Gandhi was. And I have in studio, virtually that is, some known Pan-Africanists in the persons of Elton McRae, who is a leading member of the African Cultural and Development Association, along with other Pan-African organizations in Guyana, and Sister Penda Gayan, who is a member of several African Pan-Africanist organizations in Guyana, but a leading member in the 1823 movement. And so I want to welcome them to this morning's program. Brother McRae, kindly unmute. Good morning, welcome to Buxtonian Morning Time.
Good morning.
Is Sister Penda there?
My dear fellow Buxtonians.
Yes, I am.
Good. Welcome to the program, Sister Penda.
You're most welcome. I'm glad to be on. Thank you for having me, Brother Kadaki.
Thank you. And so let's get right into the meat of the matter. So that people understand what's happening here. Both yourself and Elton, can you quickly give us what I would say a synopsis of the events of 1823 and the importance of that parade ground block, if you want to call it that, to the history of Afro-Guyanese? Please and thanks.
Most certainly. Brother Elton, you want to go first or you want me to go first?
As you are speaking, continue speaking, my dear sister.
Okay. Brother Kadaki, that ground is very, very significant for us. What people do not know is that what they call the parade ground consists of the area from New Market all the way through to Kwamina, which means that the Promenade Garden, Middle Street, what is now the parade ground, all the way through where Chedi Jagan Dental School, all the way through to Kwamina, all that constitutes the parade ground. So the area that they're asking for, that is a part of the parade ground. And the parade ground from the 1823 revolters, we know it. That is the ground even before that period. That was the killing field. That is where our ancestors, our foreparents, were taken, given their mock trials, and executed. Their heads were placed on poles around that ground, the perimeters, which includes the Promenade Garden. And as Brother Elton was pointing out, and he would go into that a little more, telling you about the drawn coffins, etc. Now that ground is sacred ground. And for anyone, I mean, I don't think the majority of people, including, I'm hoping that the ambassador, the Indian ambassador, did not know the history. But it should be researched before you do that. However, the current PPPC, they are fully aware of the issues surrounding the parade ground, the entire parade ground, because as Brother Kadaki, we had an everlasting battle to preserve that ground, because only several years ago, this very installed regime, they were trying to give that ground over the current ground, not the parade, but the other part of it. They were trying to give that over to Bajan Ling to put up a 3-story car park. And we had a struggle. I mean, it was a number of people who came together. I don't know if I prefer not to call their names because people may not like their names mentioned on air. But a lot of us came together and fought very, very hard. A lot of Pan-Africanists, because the 1823, it's a coalition of a number of Pan-African groups that came together, and we fought vehemently for the preservation of that ground. So for us to sit back, and they're aware of it because they were the ones that were trying to take it. During their last sitting, they installed a monument without any consultation in the Promenade Garden facing south. So this that they have done now is nothing other than sheer provocation. They had it all figured out. I mean, you go to the UN, you tell people that there are no extrajudicial killings and you're championing reparatory justice, which you couldn't even pronounce the word, put that aside. And at the same time, you're killing people here because you're doing so when you take their jobs away. And you, at the same time, you're planning on renaming an area that you know is sacred to the struggles of our foreparents. So I'm going to stop at that point and let Brother Elton take over.
Thank you, Sister Pendo. Brother Elton.
Good morning to the viewers and listeners of this program. Now, this morning is a morning that we need to really reflect on our history. And what we are seeing there, what is being peddled there, is primarily because history has been relegated to the back rooms of our schools. I don't know, President Ali is a young man. I don't know much history, Guyanese history in particular, that he would have been taught at school. For President Ali to sit back and listen to the Indian ambassador pronouncing on such a proposal, he should have immediately informed that ambassador that, sir, I do not want to upset your cart, but the parade ground is of much more significance to Guyanese than you would like it to be, because at the end of the day, Guyanese will ask me, what has Mohandas Karamchand Ghandi done for Guyanese and Guyana? And, so we will have to really let this thing be taken in its correct perspective. Now, the parade ground, as Sister Pender alluded, is a sacred ground to us African Guyanese and all Guyanese in general, because the struggle that our foreparents carried out, it was not only African Guyanese who benefited. If it was not for that struggle, the Indians, when they came here, they would have been enslaved also. The Chinese would have been enslaved. So the struggles of our foreparents was a general struggle for all who touched the soils of Guyana thereafter. Right? So we should all be thankful for that struggle of the 1823 revolt and other struggles that our foreparents, our African foreparents, did carry out in this landmass called Guyana. Now, as Sister Pender also alluded to, the trial that was executed, that was done at the parade ground, because the parade ground, it was then referred to, the parade ground is a short form of the name Militia Parade Ground. The Militia Parade Ground was where the held courts, especially when there was issues with blacks and the Europeans. That was the court hall. And that court, which was held in the aftermath of the 1823 revolution, should probably be considered the worst ever judicial environment that Guyana would have experienced. Because imagine you are being tried for a crime, quote unquote. You were not, according to their literature, the main protagonist of this crime, because according to their literature, it was John Smith. Yet John Smith was not condemned to death, or rather, John Smith was not killed because of his activities towards promoting this revolution. But our foreparents, on the day of their trials, they pulled, and I repeat, pulled their coffins behind them. What message are you sending to those looking on at the court, and to those people who are being tried? That no matter what, you will end up in that coffin. You're coming here to go into that coffin. So, I will like to ask that the members of our legal fraternity do some research on that trial and declare it for what it is. Right? Now, coming back to the issue at hand. Sister Pender said the parade ground is sacred ground. The parade ground is a monument. And that monument includes all of the Promenade Gardens, that entire square. Because, as Sister Pender said, it was the killing fields of our foreparents. After their execution, many a times their heads were stuck on poles for the general viewership of others who may want to follow their examples as a deterrent. So, for now, someone to come and say Mohandas Karamchand Ghandi should be honored, venerated in that space is kind of tough, because let us look at who this man Gandhi was. Gandhi internationally went to South Africa. And what was his first line of protest? He protested because the white South Africans lumped the Indians and the Africans. He called those Africans Kafirs. Those who do not know the meaning of the word Kafir, please research it. He called them Kafirs. The Africans and the Indians, he felt it was an insult for Africans and Indians to use the same entrance to the post office. So he waged a battle against Africans and Indians being asked to use the same entrance to go to the post office to do their business. Whites had their own one entrance. No, it was apartheid, as we all know from the American system, where blacks were one, white were on the other side. In South Africa, we had the same situation in the late 19th century and early 20th century. So when Gandhi arrived there in 1993, I think it was, his first line of protest was against Africans and Indians being classified in the same, or categorized for the same sort of treatment at the post office as Africans. He felt it was an insult. Gandhi went on further in his writings to say that the Indians were similar, and the Europeans, they came from that same racial grouping, you know, that false grouping of Indo-Europeans. He referred to them as Indo-Aryans. So they should be, even though, yes, he recognized the whites should be the superior, he believed in white supremacy, the whites should be there on top, so the Indians should follow, and the Kafirs, some we lost in the mud. You know, Gandhi's struggles in South Africa against Africans were so many. You know, he protested when they said that the Africans and the Indians should be living in the same communes. No, that should not be, because we are different. He protested. So Gandhi's stance on the vis-a-vis Africans are known. He even protested against the Chinese while in South Africa. So Gandhi is, to put it in the simplest way, a racist, or was a racist. So now, to put our foreparents who were struggling against that racist ideology of slavery, chattel slavery, which, because of their activisms, the Indians were not, should I say, were not subjected to it when they came to Guyana, right? The Chinese were not subjected to it. The Portuguese were not subjected to it because of the activism of our people. You are now going to put a man who displayed ultra racism against our people to where their sacred, a spot which we consider sacred to our history and our struggles, we are now going to rename it in honor of that man, venerating him to a place. So reminding us that racism trumps whatever you do. It will always be a racist that you will look up to. So we now go to the parade ground and honor Gandhi. When we go to the parade ground, we have to be honoring Gandhi in that process, a racist, which should not be. My brother, I would like to stop here. And you said you showed some videos. I did not see those videos, but I guess our listeners and the viewers of your program would have seen those videos. It would be happy to respond to some of their comments as we go on.
All right, let me ask you.
But
I know that.
Brother Kadaki.
Oh, yes, Sister Pendo.
May I add to something that Brother Elton said before you go on? That's very important. You know, we have a saying that knowledge is power. Now, in our sacred space, the statue of Gandhi, that outright racist, was placed. Now, he was placed there under the Burnham administration. But I do know the person who recommended that statue be placed there, because they wanted to put it by the lighthouse. So as you come in via the Atlantic Ocean, you would see him standing there. The brother who recommended that had no idea, brothers and sisters are listening to me this morning, had no idea that the Promenade Garden was a part of the parade ground and it was sacred space. They thought just put it there and, you know, leave it, hide it away there or whatever. So, you know, knowledge is important. Knowledge is power. Had they known, it would not have been on our sacred space. That's one. Two, just adding to what brother said, Gandhi was such an outright racist that people do not even understand the depth of his racism. He is from the caste system. And because the caste system is so powerful in India and other parts of the world where these people go, they see nothing wrong with what they're doing, because the poor, and I repeat now, the poor downtrodden Indians who are caught up in this, because the people that came here, Brother Kadaki and your listeners, they came from what was called the feet of the Hindu god. They were the Dalits. They were the untouchables. They were the black man. That was the official name for them. We were not called black men until 1838 after they came here. And when the upper caste that brought them, those parasites, told them, now you're here to elevate yourself. The Africans you meet, they must now be the black man. So that's how they start calling you black man. And the thing about it is that, so the racism, going to South Africa, Brother Elton is so correct. Gandhi asked, he was an officer in the military. He wanted guns to be given to him so that he could shoot down the South Africans, the Africans in their own country. He didn't get it. And that was the saving grace for a lot of them, because he told the military that they're on the same level, they're from the same Aryan stock, but they didn't buy that. He was the one, as Brother Elton said, that was one of the engineers of the apartheid system. And that man was so vicious that he went back to India, the world where these people, fast that he was on, that fast, Brother Kadaki, was not for humanity as they put out there. Let our people research. You know what Gandhi's fast was about? He said he would rather die than have a Dalit, an untouchable, a black man sit in the Parliament of India. That is the vicious nature of that creature that they are trying to glorify. People all around the world are not aware of who this man really was. And as the researcher in Ghana that made them take this monument of Gandhi off of the grounds of one of the universities there, as he rightly said, if Martin Luther King had known the other side of Gandhi, if Mandela had known the other side of him, if most of our leaders had known the other side of Gandhi, they would never have praised that man. He is the greatest deceptor and the most evil creature. Fancy fasting and saying you'd rather die than have an Indian and a Dalit sit in the House of Parliament. I mean, that should say it all. So to have that racist sitting on the heads of our foreparents who fought, as Brother Elton said, for the freedom of all, and then to have the audacity to ask that his name be given to our sacred space, I think that's the greatest slap that we could put in the faces of our foreparents. And what I would like to say before I leave is that I hope that we here can do exactly what the people in South Africa do. Take that monstrosity out of our space. Get him out of the parade ground and put him on Merriman Mall between Camp and Alexander, where he belongs, not on the heads of our foreparents. Thank you.
Okay, but well, I know you're not going as in leaving the program. So let me ask you, Sister Penda. Both yourself and Elton hinted at the fight you've had with the previous PPP administration over the parade ground. I know for a fact that the 1823 movement, one of the fights was to have the 1823 monument situated at the parade ground. Could you detail for us the response of the PPP back then?
You want me to answer that, Brother Elton? Go ahead. I see you. No, I see you mumbling. I'm waiting for you to say something.
Sorry, my mic was off.
Oh.
No, the response that we got from the PPP government back in 2012, 2014, when we were trying to stop them from building that monument on the seawall. You know, the thing is, they wanted parade ground at all costs for, as Sister Pendas indicated, for the erection of parking space for, even though in 2010, I think it was, sometime earlier, the then Culture Minister, Gail Teixeira, along with other dignitaries, the Lord Mayor and others, did bury some coins on the parade ground, intending that the monument will be there. But because of greed, because they saw somebody felt that they could have made money by giving to the Chinese, by selling that approval to build this triple-decker car park, and then they would have then introduced parking meters, blah blah, and the rest of it around Georgetown, because that was the plan. So when we protested, you know, they used our fellow African brothers and sisters to counter us, and this was in the form of the artist himself. You know, they tried to let him present. They shifted the argument. They went into the background and allowed Mr. Tom to be the one who we had to interface with in our struggles. In other words, they wanted him to be our target, right? So we did not accept that. We allowed it. So because putting the monument where they did, you know, they could not have justified where location of a monument is always critical. It's always key in placing of monuments. Significance of the location is always, it should always be a significant rationale for having it there. You know, in other words, because of the question I asked earlier, what has Gandhi done for Guyana that we need to have a monument of Gandhi in Guyana? What has Gandhi done for Guyana that he should be venerated in Guyana? You know, unless we can justify the answer that question in the positive, I do not see why we must name a street after Gandhi in Georgetown. I do not see why we must name a space after to honor him in Georgetown, right? And it was the same thing they did. Our monuments should have relevance so that when our students, young people come, they understand why it's there. But the PPP was not interested in that. All they wanted to do was satisfy an agenda. Yes, we built a monument also. That's not the case of you building a monument. But as I said, they tried to hide behind the artist Tom, who wanted to see his work stand in glory.
But in hindsight, do you regret not fighting Tom? Because the issue wasn't necessarily fighting Tom. The issue was fighting for the location of the monument at its correct spot. And if Tom, as black as he is, couldn't recognize that importance and was seen as a stumbling block, why not fight him?
Can I say that we did? I confronted Mr. Tom on this matter, and I told him about the history of the parade ground. I told him to go and research it. I even gave him the name of the book by Amelia Beatty. Is it Carlos or D'Souza that he can find? I can't remember the last part of her name. And I referred him to that book. And he was very hostile that day because he was coming out of the Ministry of Culture. And I confronted him on this. And his response to me was, and I have witnesses, that the parade ground is too small to hold the monument. So we pointed to the Sacred Heart Cathedral. And we said, it's not going to be bigger than that. So what are you talking about? Now, Brother Kadaki, if you look at the space that that monument occupies, and then you look at the space of our current, the little area that is left, minusing the Promenade Garden, just look at the area. How could you tell me that that monument could not hold in the parade ground? Our current space could hold that monument 20, 30 times. So I don't know what he was talking about. We did have a battle with him, but you see, the whole thing was the hypocrisy of the People PC regime. They already had a plan in operation. They were going to give that for a car park. And so they just wanted a fall guy. But Brother Elton mentioned that the sod was turned. That sod was turned in 2000, 1st of August 2000.
Yes.
And the person who turned it was none other than the so-called president, who is now in his third term. Erford Ali's just a front guy, a fall guy. The person who turned that was Barrett Jack Dio. He turned that sod. And they buried coins. So this is to show you the viciousness and the hypocrisy of these people. And when they have an agenda, they do it regardless of logic, argument, whatever. They don't care. They just go ahead and do what they have to. And I think what Brother Elton said is so important, that they're able to do these things, Brother Kadagi, with the assistance of our own African brothers and sisters, who either because of lack of knowledge or sheer greed go along and help in facilitating the atrocities that are being played out against us. Yes, we did fight for that space, and I agree with you. I think we could have continued fighting throughout the years. I must say that in 2019, President David Granger, when I asked him again for a monument for the ground, said he was going to do so. We now have a monument, but it's a small monument. It's a step, and we're grateful. But we needed a monument facing east that reflects the struggles of our foreparents. Something like we have in Senegal, with figures of bronze standing tall, so that, you know, people can see it a mile off, to know that these are the people who brought emancipation to the Africans throughout the Caribbean, because we were the first. And it is written, Brother Kadaki, and I want our listeners today to familiarize themselves with the work of Brother Tommy Payne, who was our archivist, in the book that says 100 Days to Change the World. It is written in there that they made it clear from the Parliament of England that if we did not do what we had to, the rest of the Caribbean would not have gotten emancipation. We paved the way for all of them. So, you know, people have got to understand this, and we are not going to sit down. We are the children of those foreparents that were so brave to make history, and we're not going to roll over and let a set of people come here and think that they're going to run over us. No way, no way. We're not going to sit down and let that happen. And Brother Gaddafi, another thing that people need to know is that the people that came here, I call them the poor Indians, because they came here and they were coerced. And sometimes I sit and I wonder why they allowed this to happen to them. Brother Gaddafi, when they left India, they were slaves. Slavery was not abolished in India until 1843. Had they gone back, they don't know what they were going back into. This is why they did not want to return. You don't leave a bad situation to go back into it. So when they set foot here, we freed them. They should understand what we're fighting for and should not be a part of this. But they're being brainwashed into feeling that they are superior and that their racist caste system rules, which is totally, totally wrong.
Where can we expect the pushback against this new move to whitewash or wash out the history of Africans in Guyana to go? What do we expect? What kind of pushback can we expect?
We're doing that right now. You've made the start with this program. Seriously though, we need to start writing our letters. We need to get a petition going to the PPC government and the minister and the Consulate of India to let them know that we're not going to accept this. It's not going to happen, not in this lifetime.
Will we, can I expect, or should viewers expect an international petition also, and perhaps some protests in front of the Indian High Commission and stuff like that?
Yes, 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 but we need to call on the diaspora. I mean, when this surfaced, you know, I started making calls, and the people abroad says they are going to, you know, sisters in the struggle understand that this racism is alive and well, and what is going on, and we cannot sit back and have this continue. Not at all, not at all. We can't let it continue.
Thank you, Sister Penda.
This here struggle is not a Guyanese struggle, because, as I said earlier, what our foreparents did paved the way for an international declaration for the abolition of slavery, right? So people's free mind, free thinking people throughout the world will understand our position against this renaming proposal, and we should capitalize on that, because if we don't, then we are likely to make other errors along the way. So
it's now 5 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour. You tune to the Buxtonian Morning Time. I'm chatting with Pan-Africanist Elton Macri and Sister Penda Gayan, and we're discussing the proposal to rename areas around the Promenade Garden in honor of Mahatma Gandhi. Brother Elton and Sister Penda, I'm about to open up the lines. Do you mind staying to answer some of the questions, if there are any?
Sure.
Sure, we will.
So the lines are now open. 6225933 is the number to call. is the number to call. The lines are open. Buxtonian Morning Time, you're tuned to. Remember, the program comes to you with the kind compliments of One and Move. Yes, One and Move delivery service operating out of Buxton. And they're delivering from the East Coast, or from Georgetown all the way to the East Coast. First call in. Call in live, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
God, let me first thank brother and sister for the history lessons, which is important, and these things should be preached to our kids on a daily basis, because we cannot rely on the classroom and the education system to teach us about these things. All these books should be made available to our people by some means necessary. That's one. A petition, now we're talking about pushback and petitions, etc. To petition the Ministry of Culture and the government, it won't happen. They won't do anything. As you rightfully said, brother and sister, that no matter what, these people are going to make sure the agenda go forward. We need to get people like the Ghanaians, everybody from West Africa on our side, and make an international petition, a strong one too, and echo his speech that he said there. What I must call it, disingenuous speech that he made at United Nations. We need to echo that and let them know that this guy is, this regime is very disingenuous, and what they're doing there It's totally wrong, and we won't allow it. And we need the help of our West African brothers and sisters to help us to push this forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that's a very, very powerful statement, and I agree with the caller wholeheartedly.
In fact, it is important that we do, as a follow-up on what the brother just indicated, because we are aware that Mr. Barajagdio, accompanied by Mr. Dr. Irfan Ali, shall be visiting Ghana, and we need to let the West Africans, Ghana in particular at this point in time, know the kind of issues that the kind of agenda they want to promote here in Guyana. So we let them know that the people are not genuine. They will not be coming bearing gifts which will be of benefits to the Ghanaian people, but they will try to make things of such a way that it will all be a facade they'll be presenting. So we need to let our cause be known internationally. So wherever they go, they will be confronted with it.
Caller Live, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, Kadaki. Good morning to your guests. Our elders, I mean, they have so much knowledge to share with us. One thing we want to know, is there some kind of a summarized list of the references that were made today by our sister elder in regards to the booklets, the books that were mentioned, and are they, I think you mentioned the organization that they were part of. Do they have like outreaches, for example, the villages? For example, I'm on the Linen Highway. Do they have reference material that could be shared, or could we have a way to initiate certain village meetings that we could have in regards to African history, because it is so lacking. I tell you, I mean, like I said, I'm in my 30s, and I have very limited access to history. I mean, it might be there in books. I sometimes accidentally come across them here and there, but there's no concise place. But one of the things I was wanting to do, as the brother mentioned, and I started to actually create a list of the African books, some of the books that are very influential and have a lot of information. Because I called a few bookstores around Georgetown, and none of them have these books, and it was strange. And I knew Era was one of the book places that I called in particular that I assumed would have had it. They do not have a lot of these books. So I'm maintaining a list, and I want to go ahead and purchase these to have it available locally for us here in Guyana. But I want to know, outside of that, as one of my plans, how could villages participate in these kind of knowledge sharing events? Because you do have a wealth of knowledge that I would gladly appreciate if it could be shared within our village. Thank you.
Responses?
Elton?
Caller Live, good morning.
At Agdi, we have a library.
Good morning, Mr. Kadaki.
We have a library at Agdi.
Caller, hold the line, please. Go ahead, Brother Elton.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a library at Agdi which is open to the general public, Because of COVID, it might have not been so open, but you can always call Agda. We will give you the telephone number. It's 225-4820, Sister Penda, I think.
No, 225-8420.
8420, right? If you can make a note of and call the secretary to find out what time you can visit the library, because our library, there is quite a wide range of informative texts that you can peruse to get. Yes, but however, what we need to be doing is, as a people, we need to be clamoring our Ministry of Education to have history taught in school. Nothing short of that should be acceptable, because
And
the
may I
history
add,
that will be
Brother
taught
Kadaki, before-
should not only be history that will improve our position as Africans, but the position of all Guyanese, because the ignorance that is peddled today and at times in this country, if it was that history was taught, people would not have been believing in it and going towards working along with this, such ignorance.
I think, Brother Elton, what you really intend to say is Guyanese history. Because Caribbean history is taught in the schools.
Guyanese history.
Sister Penda, you wanted to say something?
Brother Kadaki, one of the recommendations that were made with the working group of experts on people of African descent when they were here from the United Nations is that they could not understand, and they did recommend that history, Guyanese history, be taught in the schools. They thought it was appalling that this wasn't done. So that was one of the recommendations. It just hasn't materialized.
Thank you. Caller, you live. Good morning. Thank you for holding.
Yeah, good morning. You know what I want to say that this government is illegal, all right? And they're going up to the UN and talk all kind of things, but Guyana is good. Why they don't have nobody to say that they like what they see? You understand what I'm saying? Because these people is a, what you call this, is a sacrifice party. PP party is a sacrifice party. A man from Africa who was predicting when during the election, he talked all these things. You understand what I'm saying? And I don't see why Guyanese people sit down and see what's going on and they ain't doing nothing, only killing with the guy from Dartmouth. All right? These things supposed to be in the media, be everywhere, but people see what's going on and they keep lying, saying that nothing going on in Guyana. And it sounds very bad. Then the Prime Minister go up there, no, all he going and talk a whole heap of things and he can't even speak for a Guyanese Prime Minister. I don't know where they get him from, but that's my talk for this morning.
Thank you, caller. Lines remain open. 6225933 is the number to call. You tune to the Buxtonian Morning Time. We're talking about a proposal to rename the Promenade Gardens and areas around in honor of Mahatma Gandhi. Caller, you're live. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Kadaki. Good morning to everyone in the diaspora. Good morning to Sister Panda and Brother Elton.
Good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
Good morning. Good. I think this is a great show. I think you guys should come on much more frequently, but that's for Mr. Kadaki to decide. I think you have started something, but I think Kadaki has already been on it, and you are putting more impetus to the cause. Black ideology. We must teach that unapologetically, okay? Because we have slaved for this country. We have built this country and we have built Europe. We have built the Dutch during the times of coffee, then we started building the British Empire. So in terms of what we put out, our investment. So when we talk about patrimonies, Sister Penda and Brother Elton, when you guys leave this show, I want you guys to understand something fundamentally, which you probably already do. I just want to highlight it. Guyana and Africans, Guyanese, we have inherited certain patrimonies that are not here to be shared with anyone else. Because no one in their right mind could arguably say that African Guyanese patrimonies are here to be shared with East Indians, with Portuguese, or Chinese. Okay? Because they were not here. So historians need to get their chronology right and be able to speak to the time. And politicians need to be able to say, hey, African lands and African patrimony is not up for debate. It's not up to be shared. Moving along. In my book, in my thesis, I stress the issue of the ownership that coffee established. Coffee established ownership in Guyana, and no one yet has properly spoken to the issue sufficiently. Okay? And no one believes, everyone is telling me in my thesis that my thesis is wrong because coffee lost the war. And I'm saying, anytime a person fought for something and won it and governed it for at least 10 months, and sent letters out to the international, to the Queen of Netherlands and Governor Van Hogenheim, coffee had sufficiently established statehood and sovereignty. Coffee had sufficiently established ownership and sovereignty and is not an issue to be glossed over. And we need to be able to sit down and discuss this intellectually and academically. This speaks volumes about things which we have neglected. Secondly, I don't know, and there seems to be a culture and a habit. Whoever was the brother or the individual who said that Gandhi should be in the promenade, that is emblematic or indicative of the kind of leadership that we have in Guyana today among black leaders and black intellectuals. We have a lot of people who want to represent the African narrative, but aren't properly rooted or properly grounded. How in God's name could Coffee fight a war, establish sovereignty for 10 months, and no one believes that Africa has a rightful place of ownership in Guyana? How could that happen? Now, who are the intellectuals who are leading us on the front here? And then you have all sorts of other people now popping up, claiming indigenous status and this rights and that rights. It's because we need to take an introspect of our academic intellectuals. We even need to be properly grounded before we say we want to lead our people. And this is not any aspersions on the guest this morning. Sister Pond has been very informative. Thank you, Sister Penda, and Brother Elton. So I think this needs to continue. I think this needs to be a catalyst for change. And let the ideology, Dr. Hines, here is the ideology right here. Let's build on this. Vincent Alexander, actor, let's build on this. Sage, let's build on this. Let's make this our second prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Let this be our prayer. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Brother Kadaki. Is that Dr. Manderson?
Sister Penda, the only name I know this person by is Coffee.
Is what?
Coffee. That's his pseudonym. Yes, Brother Elton.
A very good contribution. And I must say that he was correct, because, you know, this is something that we need to talk about, that we do not speak about it sufficiently. People have been banding this around, that Coffee lost the war, Coffee was a coward, he killed himself, a whole heap of nonsense. And as I say, knowledge is power. Anytime an African warrior loses a war, our foreparents, our ancestors, they took their lives. That was the order of the day. That was not a coward act. That was bravery. That was kingly. And the other thing is, as he rightly said, how could you rule? He governed for a period of time. How could you lose something and govern over it? So yes, we need to really, really sit down and discuss these issues and educate our people correctly. Educate them so that they understand. You know, Brother Kadaki, one of the things that I say all the time is, where is the logic? Where is the reasoning? We have a lot of certificated people, but it seems as if critical thinking has gone out of the window, because we're not sitting down, we're not researching, and we're not having enough dialogue.
Call your life. Good morning.
Good
morning, Kadaki. And I must say also good morning to those two seniors who have done a yeoman's job this morning to edify the masses in Guyana. My God, they have given us so much this morning that Guyana should be crying right now. I have been privy to all the information which I've heard,
But I am so happy that Guyanese there now can hear firsthand from people who lived through that and who had the information. I have been following Mahatma Gandhi for a long time in terms of his background. He was always a racist. So what came out today was refreshing in my ears, but more so refreshing for Guyanese. This guy was never anything good for black people. And I don't understand why in this modern day, that regime in Guyana, that installed regime in Guyana is trying to force this man in a position where he doesn't belong. Guyana needs to stand up. Too much has been done to Guyanese and we can't take any more. It's unfortunate that I'm living abroad, but I'm telling you, my heart is in Guyana. And I'm only hoping that some magic wand can be waved over the minds and the heads of those Guyanese people to stand up against these bullies, these racists. Something has to be done. That monument which they have in mind to erect cannot be erected, should not be erected, and will not be erected. Thank you. And good morning again to all and sundry.
Thank you, caller. But I think you wanted to say something.
The thing is, Gandhi, he disqualifies himself from being venerated in Guyana, not only because he was a racist. Gandhi as a human being was obnoxious also, because if you consider his stance on pedophilia, the Indian women in Guyana should rise up against Gandhi alongside all other women, because Gandhi treated young women as if they were, I don't have a word to really describe his treatment of women, especially young women who were innocent of what was happening to them. In their innocence, Gandhi took advantage of them, you know. And if he was an aberrant, he was just one of those people. If you really study him, he's revolting to think about. So we should not try to promote him at any level in Guyana, from any standpoint. Yes, he might have fought a war against the British to assist in the liberation of India, but as Sister Penda said, he also did some very obnoxious things, because when Abendikar was there, who stood alongside him, he then turned back on that same Abendikar, because Abendikar was Dalit. You know, it was the man who stood alongside him and fought he was protesting against. That Dalit man, Abendikar. So we must understand the man. He's not just an ordinary human. He may not be, I've lost the words. But Gandhi he's repulsive, full stop.
Caller Live, good morning.
Have him there.
Good morning, Kirati and panel.
Good morning.
I think this is a real wake-up call for us in Guyana as black people. This is nothing that happened just overnight. These people have an agenda. And if we don't put a stop to it, if we don't educate ourselves first, and then put a stop to it, we're going to be doomed. The next generation and generations to come will be enslaved all over again. And we have to look past our politicians. They are not serving us any purpose. They are not serving us any purpose anymore. We have to band ourselves and understand what is coming. It's very, very important. They have an agenda. This is only the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you, brother.
The lines remain open. 6225933 is the number to call. It's now 8 hours 28. We have a call coming through. Caller, good morning. You're live.
morning, Mr. Amsterdam. Good morning, elders. Great
Good
program
morning,
this
young
morning.
man. Yes.
Like one previous caller said, I myself have been privy to some of those information. But Mahatma Gandhi, like Bharat Jagdeo, has no place, I mean no place in Guyana. Zero. Guyana has come down to one thing. We have to fight for everything. You know, a lot of times we said it's not the physical, you know, it's the psychological, or, you know, just mobilize. But we gonna have to come to a point where we have to have physical struggles in Guyana. I have been approached here in America by a man about 5 years ago when he found out that I was from Guyana, and he mentioned Guyana, Trinidad, and Suriname, which the Indians are trying to make Indian colonies. And I haven't heard much about it, and I didn't have enough time to make that, to do those research myself. But I know that's the direction they are going. They want to make Guyana their premier Indian colony. And we have to stand up and fight for that. And like it or not, there are going to be some blood. Like it or not, we're going to have to stand up and do what we have to do for Guyana. I am foaming at both sides of my mouth, having that information coming out there this morning. Thank you.
Appreciate.
Thank you, brother. This idea of an Indian colony, it's not the first time it's been bandied. You know, way back in 1918, there was a proposal on the table to establish an Indian colony in Guyana, to make Guyana. There was a proposal.
Follow the line, please. Go ahead, brother.
They wanted to make Guyana a colony of India. There were delegations of Indians who from Guyanese who were living in Guyana, people like Loku, that is Joseph Loku's father. There were people like Moyen. I'm trying to... Anyway, these people, they took a delegation to the Indian government to appeal to the Indian government to make, because they had this grandiose plan of establishing large plantations which would have been owned by Indian businessmen coming from India, because they wanted to propagate this old caste system back here in Guyana. So they have the lumpen Indians who would have been the workers. Then they now wanted to bring like about 750 large Indian businessmen to take up large tracts of lands for farming and other commercial activities in Guyana. So this would have been an Indian colony if it was not for the objection of some people, including our own Hubert Nathaniel Critchlow. Right? So it's not the first time that, and even some among us believe that plan, that scheme, was still worked in some surreptitious ways. So because of what we are seeing today, where the Indians dominate over 75% of our local economy. So some of us are saying that it must have been, the plan was still effected. It was secretly being effected, so as for us to arrive at this position today, where all the other peoples are scrambling to control 25% of the economy, with Africans probably just having less than 2%. Right? Amerindians a bit less than us. The Portuguese, the Chinese, they all have more than us. When numerically they are so much inferior than us in numbers. That is.
A discussion we'll have to have in depth. Certainly, it's a discussion worth having an entire program to talk about.
Yeah.
Caller! Caller!
Good morning, Kadaki.
You're live. Good morning. Now you can speak.
Good morning.
Morning, sister.
Kadaki, did I miss something? What is going on in Guyana? Is Guyana for sale? Second, I want to know if Guyana for sale. I guess I need a piece too of it. Third thing, what did Mahatma Gandhi contribute to Guyana? Did he come to Guyana? Did he fought for something there? That's what I want to know. If the panel could tell me that.
That's the same question me been asked earlier. What the hell this man do for Guyana and Guyanese? The man not do nothing for Guyana and Guyanese, so we're not supposed to
I just heard the man say
honor
that
him
we only
in any
get
way.
certain percentage. We need more than that. Where is our people? The intellectual, the big brilliancy, where are they? They're supposed to be on the ground sorting out these kind of stuff from the time they air this session immediately. By the time you say spit, they needed to get on board and get things going in action for us. What's going to be for us? There is nothing. You keep saying the same thing. Mr. Gavin Matthews keeps saying the same thing. We're going to wake up one day and there is no spot for us. All our spots is being taken away from us. Tomorrow you could wake up and your whole business could be taken over by somebody else. What are they doing? This is such a wonderful topic that you have brought. Every day you are giving us food for our brains to get wider and wider, and we are not accepting it. Why? All I can see is people want to take us out and leave us empty with nothing, and we must just sit by the roadside and begging them. What for? When our ancestors leave these places for us, they fought and they died. Like sell. Black people like to sell too much. Kadaki, you have a great day, and later, bye-bye.
Thank you, caller.
You know, Brother Gaddafi, before we go to the next person, if we have time, I think the sister has touched on so many. I mean, I know she's really upset and she has every right to be, but she's touched on so many points. And the previous caller, first of all, making Guyana a colony was not just in 1929 when they went. This started in 1838 by the British when they imposed over 200 over a period of time, over a period of years. They brought over 200,000 Indians from India and imposed them upon 60,000 Africans. That was the beginning, Brother Kadaki, and the listeners. They created from that point on, they created a system where it sounds strange, but where they were telling us that you will never be able to be self-sufficient and self-control, to have control of your own destiny. When you put 200,000+ people on 60, you're annihilating us. It is a wonder that we have so many of us. And what has happened, listeners, is that over the period of time, and this is what has them confused, is that the people that should not have been are now, and people are not accepting this. We are now the majority in this country. Whether people want to accept it or not, it is a fact. As was shown as the polls, that is why they had to be installed. Secondly, as the sister's saying, they are taking and taking. When you have an attorney general that can go up and tell someone, you stay on this land, somebody else's land, what is that telling you? What is that telling you? It is showing the criminality from the highest order down. And yes, they are taking away what our foreparents laid down for us, what they struggled for. And the sister's right. We fought for all these things. And we are not teaching our young people, so they don't understand. We're so complacent in this country, and I don't understand it. You walk or you go over the East Bank, and you stand at number 1, and you look at the 3 miles down. You know what that is? People dug that canal with bare hands, and their bones are at the bottom of it, and we don't even care. You go to number 1, number 2, number 3, all these canals. Our foreparents made this place possible and livable. We made it arable. We cleared over 18,000 acres of swampland, pushed the sea back and put that wall. And so that when the rain falls, those drainage systems to run the salt water off to make this land arable.
Sister Penda, not 18,000 acres, 18,000 square miles. Sorry. Continue.
Pardon?
18,000 square miles.
Yes, sorry, thank you.
Acres.
And I mean, when you think of these things, imagine, and we're sitting here so complacent about all that is happening to us when there is an agenda that was set into motion. Says Brother Kadaki and our listeners, when our foreparents were dragged here and put in those prison industrial complexes called plantations, they didn't bring slaves here, you know. They brought captured people. And we resisted every inch of the way. When they brought us here, we had to do everything. Nobody gave us anything. And to show you the intent, after the so-called emancipation, they didn't give us not one blade of grass. That is why I love that song so much. Not one blade of grass, and we're not giving it up. And nobody gave us anything. But guess what? When the Indians that they brought here, that, as I said before, were slaves, when they brought them here, after about 20 years, they were buying estates and giving it to them. They gave them farmland. They gave them house lands. They gave them, I mean, what is this telling us? What is this telling us? But you know what? Because the history is not taught, and the correct history, because the little that they put in those books are lies, because when my grandchild has to be taught that the Indians were the first rice planters, that's the biggest miseducation ever. So, you know, we have to understand what the game is, and we as a people have got to stand up, as the sister said, and fight for what is rightfully ours in this place. And forgetting all the other things, I will not sit quiet and have anyone desecrate the heads of my foreparents. Never.
Call Live, good morning. Call Live, good morning.
Good morning, brother. Good morning to you, your panel, and all viewers.
Good morning.
My contribution this morning is a simple one. I think the PPP have taken cue from Kamala in Trinidad, and I can't remember if his name was Swazi or what his name is in Fiji. But my main topic this morning I want to talk about is that every time that the PPP attempt to do anything in Guyana, and the opposition or the people does not rise up and let their presence be felt, the PPP becomes emboldened. The parade ground is where our ancestors, when they were beheaded, where their blood was dripping from stakes that their head were placed on. Our ancestors must be respected. The opposition did not undo what the PPP did when they put that monument on the seawalls. If the opposition, when they were in power, had relocated that monument to its rightful place, the PPP would not have been encouraging a foreigner to come here to dictate for Guyanese, right? Who must name what, for what reasons. That as I speak with you this morning, listen to me, you know me, I'm emotional because this is blatant disrespect, and I pass on the African Guyanese in this country. This is my contribution, my brother. You and your panel enjoy the rest of the day, and all viewers.
Okay. Sister Pender did mention a few things there, which I would like to add to.
Must name what, for what reason. As I speak with you this morning, listen to me, you know me, I'm emotional because
But I thought you wanted to say something.
Yes, I was saying. Now, in Sister Pender's discourse, she did mention the contribution of our foreparents made towards establishing areas like the canals, polders, the seawalls, and all of those things. You know, and we shouldn't take this lightly, because when the indentured servants came here, they met lodges. Those lodges were built by Africans. They met roads on which they walked. Those roads were built by African labor. You know, so we facilitated their smooth transition into a place of habitation. They didn't come and had to go cutting wood to build a lodge. They didn't come and had to be cutting. We had the plantations all prepared for them to just come and do the easier part. You know, Sister Pender mentioned rice. You know, the first rice that was planted in Guyana came by way of African women to Guyana. They were captured and they didn't know where they were going, but they had rice grains, paddies in their hair, and they took those paddies out and planted them when they came here. That's how the first rice was planted in Guyana. Those women brought paddies from wherever they came, whichever country they came from, whether it's Senegal, whether it's Togo, wherever they came from, and they planted those paddies, and that's how the first rice grains were planted in Guyana. You know, and Africans continued to plant rice until long before the Indians came. So we must let her know. So what Sister Penny is saying about the correct history, the correct narrative must be taught, and not say that the Indians brought in rice.
But unless we tell our own stories, no one will tell us. For as long as the hunter tells his story, then the hunted will be the victim. Carlo, live, good morning. I'm okay, sir. Good morning. You're live.
Yeah, I'm glad that I hear the time about this colonization. The Patrimony has provided the United Nations with a document that says the British Guyana colonization has been incriminated and overtly implemented since its crafting in 1919. What took place is that no African country located on African interest in Guyana, and local of them came up with this plan to make Guyana Indian colony operating behind the scenes. It was approved in 1924. But when people say Ghana, the 7th colony government till 1953. So when Kennedy infiltrated Crislow Ionization with the majority and formed the PPP, it was a continuation of the BGIA. All the members were gone from the BGIA to the PPP. When parliamentary things took place in Guyana with Chanda Society and you took concession that the PPP and him conspired to bring down the government, he did not say was to coincide with the centenary of the British Guyana colonization scheme, which is active and alive. So don't let nobody sugarcoat this thing. The Guyana Reparations Committee has identified that as prima facie case of apartheid case, and we need a broader discussion to discuss this issue because the reality. That's why they dominate and Guatemala in the economy and all the things they do, even to the United Nations, and can't pronounce the parliamentary justice. The same statement he used is what Gandhi used when to select the Caribbean Reparations Committee, the same paper. So don't let these people make it more see. Let us have a national debate to discuss this issue because the reality of their presence and make them guilty of treachery and unfair presence. They are also guilty of offense 12 of Jacob list of offenses and fair advantage because when slavery was abolished, it wasn't Guyanese. They even said the preamble of the Constitution to reflect them from being the people of the Caribbean to be the Guyanese people. Guyanese was abolished from slavery. Africans was abolished from slavery. All the wars that Asian Portland and the man right back there wrote the article because of the farmer colonial savers who were imposed the tax on Africans to finance the transportation costs of Asian. It's like the Africans were paying for the rope down themselves. The master thing is also wrong Africans next. And another thing, Africans are manipulating people under no jurisdiction. All of this have to come up with discussion because slavery was not emancipated. Slavery was abolished and it was we are manumitted people. Manumitted means under no jurisdiction. Very glad to bring some clarity to this so that we have a big forum to discuss this issue. Don't let it make him out free. This thing is not only democracy. This thing is Indian colony. And if you go on the internet and you view Infinity Foundation website, election of this Guyana, and also Infinity Foundation, where the woman for Guyana, why Guyana is into the Bible Gita, the Ramayana are anti-black doctrine and rhetoric. That's why they hate black people and they do the argument to kill you before kill you again. So we need to have a public forum on this thing. This is all I have to say about that.
Thank you, caller. And that public forum will be arranged in the due course of time. There is being called, the calls are being made for appearances, more frequent appearances by Brother Elton and Sister Penda and others who are well versed in the African cause. Let me then make a call that we need sponsors so that we can get them here as often as possible. So one of you, great among us, step forward and say, hey, I'm going to sponsor 2 hours weekly. And let's have this talk happening. That's all I can say. The platform is available, but the platform doesn't run on the platform alone. Right? So we have to put the necessary systems in place, and so we can have a scheduled program so we can discuss the African cause on a weekly basis. It's now 9 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour. It's about closing time. Ladies before gentlemen. Sister Penda, do you have any closing remarks?
Yes, Brother Kadaki, first of all, I want to say that this was a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for me to be on. And I know, Brother, I'm not speaking for him because he's going to speak, but still I'm going to say, and Brother Elton as well. You know, it is a wonderful platform you've offered us. And I hope that my little contribution helped in some way in the clarification of what is taking place, what the parade ground means to us in this country as an African people and all people, because as Brother Elton alluded earlier on, when everyone else came here, they were able to be freed people because of the struggles of those foreparents whose heads were placed on poles around that the perimeter of that parade ground. So with that, I'd like to say thank you for having me, and I look forward to having an opportunity to be with you again and to be with the listeners both here and in the diaspora. I thank you.
Thank you, Sister Penda. Have a great day and stay safe.
Thank you.
Brother Elton, it's your turn.
Okay, thank you very much. I must say thanks for the invitation to be out here, to meet, and also thanks to your viewers and listeners to allow us to occupy their time and space in their homes, cars, wherever they are, because the need for us to know what is happening to our people is great. We have been complacent for too long, and we have depended on some leaders who have not been leading. So it is time others from among our communities start taking the leadership. I heard some people asking questions and making suggestions. I would like to see those questions, those suggestions that were put out there be championed by those very people and others of like mind. So we will not find ourselves tomorrow, next year, next 50 years, discussing a similar situation as we are in today. As a people, I think the onus is on us to guide our own path. We have allowed governments to dictate to us for too long. I'm not saying that we should disobey the rule of law. We should always be law-abiding. But we should be at that table in the decision-making process of those policies, laws, and whatever that will govern our lives. And we must demand our place there at all times. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sister Penda, for enlightening our viewers. And I hope that, Brother Kadaki, you'll be around to continue the good work forever and ever. Thanks.
Ashe.
Thank you, brother and sister.
Do have a... forever and ever. I mean, there will be others to take the torch from him, because we will not all be. We are not blessed with that eternal life gift. So we pass the torch on. So whoever comes forward will be a Kadaki. As one man once said in Ghana, when I gone, another Rasta can take over. So, Brother Kadaki, there will be other Rastas to take over from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Elton and Sister Penda. Do have a comfortable and safe rest of the day. I already am getting questioned as to what it will cost for us to have a weekly program or twice weekly program to discuss the African issues. And so I'm going to have to do the necessary math. I'm going to make it publicly known that regular television will cost us about $60,000 per hour. That's $300 US. And so if we're using the platform, perhaps we can start looking at that as a starting point. Let's see if we can raise about $300 US a month to have such a program on. The rest will very well have to be subsidized, which of course we can do here. And that most likely will help us to cover studio time, research, and stuff like that. So let's work to making it a reality. KAMS TV is always available, and KAMS TV will always do the work to get the information out. We have started this process in terms of highlighting the issue of wanting to rename the parade ground area from Mahatma Gandhi, which in my mind is an atrocity, should it be allowed to happen. The brothers and sisters, ACDA, and all Afrocentric organizations most certainly must also do their work, and let us say unequivocally that we ain't standing for this nonsense. It has to be stopped.
Boy, like you getting into this habit of mispronouncing also.